So again, sections 1.1 to 1.3 are all review. You might want to look it over so you know what it is referring to. When you look it over and you look through some of the homeworks, you'll probably notice right away that you do know and have that knowledge. So we're dealing with 1.4, solving equations today. And the first thing we're going to talk about are the properties, because you should know them by now. So the first one is reflexive. Hopefully, reflexive pops in your head. Remember, I always told you to think of a reflection or looking back at yourself. You get yourself. A equals A. If we do symmetric, symmetrical. If you look down your sides of your body, they're never the same. They're a little bit different. So if A is equal to B, then B equals A. So they're just going to switch. They aren't exactly the same. They're going to switch with each other. With transitive, I always think of transportation. Oh, wait. No, that's not what I want to think with this one. Never mind. I lied. So, transitive, if A equals B and B equals C, then A is equal to C. Both A and C are equal to B, so they have to be equal to each other. Substitution, just like with a substitute teacher. Again, it should pop into your mind. Substitute teacher replaces the teacher. You're going to have values that replace the letters. So if A plus B and A equals, what's a good number?
4.
B will be 4. Then 2 plus 4. Is that a good enough explanation of substitution? Just replace the variable with the number. With addition, whatever you do to one side of an equation, you have to do to the other. So if A equals B, then A plus C is equal to B plus C. So with subtraction property, I bet you can write it down faster than I can. So with subtraction, whatever you do to one side of the equation, you have to do to the other. So you just subtract C from both sides. And same with multiplication. Whatever you do to one side of the equation, you have to do to the other. So then if we're multiplying by C, we get A times C equals B times C. Addition, subtraction, multiplication, division. division for me is always easiest to write it as the fraction. So A divided by C equals B divided by C. It could be written as a division problem this way. If you want. All right. So an example problem and showing the steps with the example problem. So when you go on the computer for your homework, it will give you different problems to do, similar numbers. So each of you may have different problems that pop up. The number, it'll be similar equation, but the numbers would be different. So if you don't get the first one right, it'll pop up another, I think, it'll pop up another problem that will show you the same steps, but different numbers again. On the right-hand side, there should be display that you can go and see a sample problem if you're having issues with it. And I will walk you through a problem. So, to move the 3D to the right-hand side, what should I do? Add 3D. So, you just said add, so it's addition property. As easy as that. So now we have 43 equals 40 plus 9. I want to move the 9. Subtract from both sides. Subtraction property. Again, abbreviation is fine with me. 43 minus 9. 34. Okay, so now I want d by itself, so I divide by 4. 4 is not going to go into 32 evenly, so I would just leave it as the fraction, but simplify the fraction. 17 halves, because both of them are multiples of 2. And I would just say simplify. Okay, so that problem is done.
Why don't you just divide it anyways and get 8.5 equals 8? Is that...
You can. I sometimes with the computer programs, they want you to leave them as fractions because those are exact, because sometimes it won't work out exactly. So I would try. I'm not exactly sure which one this computer program is going to do, if it'll leave it at fraction or if it's going to leave it at decimal. Yeah, so yeah, it's learning the systems, and I'm not sure everything on it. When we have a literal, if I spell it right, L-I-T-E-R-A-L equation, that's where it's at least 2 different variables. So in other words, S equals 1/2 GT squared. And on these, they'll tell you what they want you to solve for. So we are going to solve for G. So when I solve for something, I want to leave it alone. It's the last thing I do, so I'm going to put a box around it, just to remember I'm not touching it. On these, I don't need to say my steps. I just need to solve. So if I have to cancel a 1/2, what do I do? Multiply by 2. You can divide by 1/2, But if you divide by a fraction, it's the same as multiplying by the reciprocal, which would also give you back to multiplying by 2. So this cancels. Now I have gt squared. Again, I'm leaving the g alone. I have to get rid of the t squared, so nope, I'm just moving it. I don't have to. So what's my sign in between g and t squared? It's multiplication. So the opposite of multiplication is division. So when you're solving an equation, you're always doing the opposite function. So my final answer, I'm just going to rewrite it as g equals the 2s divided by t squared, and I am done. So as you're going through the homework, it's great to have a piece of paper to do the work on and then go from there. I don't remember if I put the story problems on the homework or if I waited to the end. So I'm not going to record anything on the story problems today. And if we need them tomorrow, then I'll come back and make sure I cover them. Any questions?